Paper Chef here. Welcome to part 6 of the Give It a Whirl workshop series that I'm doing. In this tutorial, you're going to learn how to create this box. Start to finish, we're going to use the supplies in your Give It a Whirl kit, or whichever supplies you may have in whichever part of the world you may be in, and you're going to create this box. I'll show you the whole box, the outside of the box now. Later, I'm going to show you what's inside this box, and I'm also going to show you another box I created with an entirely different set of Stampin' Up! Products, so you can completely see how this same technique applies to so many different things. Okay, I just made a snowflake in there. This is the Stitch Snowflakes dies there with some glimmer paper. I did some coloring. A lot of what you learned last week in the color changing technique I used again on these parts here. And I used the sentiment that I stamped right onto the photorealistic side of this piece of designer series paper. Okay, so you can use whatever supplies you have, and I'm going to show you the materials that I'm using. And in your kit, if you're in the US and you purchased a kit from me, and I think I only have one left, you got some of this retired paper, which is absolutely fantastic. So we're going to use a piece of this. I have to think of the name for a second. See how it's photorealistic on one side? I want to say frosted floral, but I'm looking for the package. Where's the package? No, feels like frost. Here it is. Feels like frost. It's retired now. So if you like anything that you see, and if you like anything at Stampin' Up! that you like, if you see something you like, is what I'm saying, get it, because it retires. But I bought a bunch of this and I put it in everybody's kit. So you're going to take a piece of this, the one with the snowflakes. I'm just flipping through it real quick to kind of show you that you can color any of these pieces. And on the other side, right, on the other side, there's photorealistic pages. So if someone wouldn't mind, in the comments, if you can go to see if this is still in clearance section. I got it from the clearance section, and just let everybody else know, because my store is linked in the description of this video, and if it is in the clearance section, then it's a great deal. I just don't remember, because I bought it so long ago. So we're going to take this, we're going to make a lid. And so you may be saying, self, note to self, how is she going to make that be that size? Okay, so we'll do that. We're going to cut it down to size, and then we're going to use the extra little piece from the bottom to color it, to make that extra little layer, because we want to keep that stitching effect. See how there's a stitching around the outside? We want to keep that stitching effect. Okay, here's the box. We're going to use a piece of Balmy blue from your kit, and we're going to use a piece of basic white thick cardstock. You could use, because this paper has a lot of coordinating colors, you could use, if you want, take your piece of Highland Heather if you want. But you might have already used this for your Halloween card. At the end of this video, I'll go back through the whole series and show you projects we created throughout this entire series. So I'll have lots more Give It a Whirl projects to show you at the end of this. And even if you're not familiar with this die set, you might want to jump in now, and you can do these in any order, these tutorials in any order whatsoever. They're all independent, and every one of these is a standalone tutorial. If you looked in the annual catalog, which is online and it's linked in the description of the video, see on page 163, you're going to see this set of dies. And you might go, whoa, what's all that? Let's see, 21 dies in the package. Whoa, blown away. Well, that was me. I figured it all out for you. I'm giving you lots of different applications of using those dies. And then here's an application in the catalog, page 57. See, here's an application of how they use it in the catalog. The concept is you stamp onto the wheel, and when you spin the wheel, whatever shows up in the window you cut open, that's what you see. And this is the cute little stellar. I actually don't have this yet. I thought I did, and I kept thinking I ordered it, and then I would get my order and I didn't have it, and then I would think I ordered it again. That's on my wish list. It's so cute to use for Give It a Whirl. Maybe I could do the finale with the stellar. Because the finale, I'm probably going to do, what is this, 6? I'll probably do 7 or 8 videos. Because I think the next one might be sweet stockings. But, hey, I have to come up with the next project. All right, so let's take a piece of Balmy blue. And we're going to take a piece of basic white thick. And if you remember, if you were watching my channel and you saw me color my own snowflake paper using the baby wipe technique, I was even thinking of using this for the lid. But then I remembered that you all have this paper that I put in your kit, so you could just as easily use the paper that you made the other day from the baby wipe technique for your lid. but we'll just go ahead and use designer series paper. I want to make sure I get the thick basic white. There's two basic whites. There's a thick, and in the thick you get 24 in a pack, right? That's how, and then in the regular basic white, which I use for my stamping a lot, you get 40 in a pack. So we're going to take out a piece of the thick one. So we're going to make our box. That's what we're going to do first in this tutorial, is make our box. I'll say hi to you guys as you in a little while. And I'm going to move these dies out of the way. But these are the dies where, oops, there's my microphone getting caught already. These dies here are all part of the set, and we're just going to be using for this tutorial. And every time you make a card or a box, it's different. We're going to use this one. And I'm not sure if we want to use the circle one. Probably the circle one again, because that's what I did here. We'll try to repeat it, but I might even use a different sentiment. I'll tell you where that sentiment came from. Okay, let me get this one. We're going to always use the wheel. Always use the wheel. And you could use like one of these instead for if you have square sentiments. Let's go ahead and put that back on. These are magnetic sheets from Art Bin, which I love for storing my dies. We're going to take the paper trimmer, and we need to make the box, so let's just get rid of those dies for a second. And I don't like to cut two pieces of cardstock at once, just one piece at a time. But when you cut designer series paper, you can cut it all at once. Okay, we're going to go ahead and cut 6 inches. Okay, 6 inches. When on your paper trimmer, the little flap is 6 inches already. See that? It's already 6 inches. Now, the second measurement. I have to look that up myself for a second. I wrote this down. I just came up with this, 5.5. So 6 by 5.5. Okay, so 5.5. That's that big long line on your paper trimmer. Okay, done. Now, to make the bottom of the box, you need to do the same exact thing. 6 by 5.5. So let's get out a piece of cardstock. First do 6 by 5.5, and then I'll tell you about the little smidgen you need to cut off of there. So let's do. So we have 6 by 5.5. This also has to be just, for all intents and purposes, before you cut your smidgen off, make it 6 by 5.5, right? That's 6. Save that other piece of white because you're going to need it for the wheels. By 5.5. Now, okay, so let's talk about this for a second. If you were to make a box right now and score all the sides of the box, okay, this is just box making 101. You would not be able to get the lid onto your box. The lid and the bottom of the box would be the exact same size, and that's not going to work, right? That's not going to work. You need the bottom of your box to fit underneath your lid. Okay, so it's a very, very simple thing. Don't worry about measurements. You can make any size box you want. Only thing you need to know about the lid and the bottom is that the bottom needs to be a smidgen smaller. So you can make a box any way you want with any two sizes, but the bottom will need to be a smidgen smaller. So we're going to shave a smidgen off. What's a smidgen? About 1/16 of an inch. It's about that little bit that's in that little groove there. So I just go up here to the 5.5. This is the 5.5 side, right? And there's the 5.5 line. I just move it over to 1/16 of an inch because this paper trimmer is divided in 1/16 of an inch. So I just go like that. I just move it over to the 1/16 of an inch. And I just cut off that smidgen. I'll show you what a smidgen looks like so you can see that. That's a smidgen. Okay, and if you want to make little hair or grass, you can save your smidgens. But we're not that hard up for cardstock, right? Okay, there's our 6-inch mark. We're going to move it over a smidgen. That 1/16, I got to see it, okay? And we're going to chop that off. And there you go. So when you have your lid now and your bottom of your box, you can see how the bottom of the box is cut slightly smaller than the top of the box. So I hope you'll make a box along with me. This is a very fun thing to do. And when I say measurements don't matter, it really doesn't. As long as you score now, now that you have this smidgen, as long as you score the same amount around all the edges of this, you can make the box as deep as you want it. My box happens to be 3/4 of an inch around. And that's what we're going to do for this tutorial because I want to be able to repeat this and give you the measurements, right? So that's what I'm going to do, 3/4 of an inch around. But if I wanted to make the box taller, you would just score 1 inch around. There's the 1. We're going to 3/4 of an inch. Okay? I hope this all makes sense. Looking for my little stylus tool. Okay, look, I even taped it in there. Did you see me take it out? No. Okay, we're gonna look on the floor for a moment and there it is. See, I even put a piece of tape there so it doesn't fall out, and what did it do? It just fell right out. All right, so here, I'm getting the stylus, and on the stylus, there's a big fat side, and then there's a thin side. I use the thin side because it's easier for scoring for your box making. So we're gonna go ahead and do 3/4 of an inch around all 4 sides. Don't try to measure it from the right side, left, over, blah, blah, blah. Don't do all that. Don't waste your brain power. 3/4 of an inch, right? 3/4 of an inch. This is how I make boxes. I don't care what you could go like out to this side and minus 3/4, subtract 3/4 of an inch, but why would you waste your brain power doing anything like that? It's so much easier this way. As someone who makes hundreds, if not thousands of boxes a year, this is the easier way. You just score it on the left side the same around all the edges. And because I'm going to go and put that score tool back. So there's 3/4 of an inch. And because of that smidgen, the bottom of the box is going to fit nicely beneath the top of the box. Now we're going to now take your paper snips. Take your scissors. Yep, they should be here. I just laughed because I amused myself because I just got done. I didn't do anything else. I just got done making this stuff, and then everything sort of disappears. Here they are. You're going to take your scissors, and we can burnish the edges first if you want. You can do that first. Get your little spatula. You can use your scan and cut spatula or any spatula you have. And you want to, before you do the little trimming out, the mitering the edges, you just need to sort of burnish. You're just going to fold. So that was when we scored, we did a valley. We scored down into the card. Now we're going to do a mountain. See, that keeps your card from breaking. If you ever get if you ever get white kind of showing through or weird stuff showing through in your boxes, you got the cheap cardstock. Stampin' Up cardstock is good cardstock, so it's dyed the same color all the way through, which is really nice. So there's your valley, and then when we do the mountain, no matter what, this is Balmy blue, by the way, Balmy blue. Like lip balm, right? Balmy. And when you do this, you're going to get blue all the way through. Hey, that rhymes. Because our cardstock is dyed all the way through. Okay, so that's the top and this is the bottom. Now we're going to take our scissors and we're going to do what's called, so that was called burnishing. Burnish with a B. And now we're doing what's called mitering the edges. If you don't do this little bit, we're just taking out these little bits. They're little triangles. I'll show you them in a minute. I'll show you. Let me take them all out and then show you. So what you're doing is you're just making these little flaps. You're just taking these little flaps and turning them into little, you're mitering the edges, and I'm going to show you why, because if not, the little parts of the cardboard will stick out. And this is just like how you make any box. I'm just cutting out little triangles off of both sides of every flap. And I just kind of look at it, the way I do it is like I look at the box and I go, oh, that's a letter H. And then I just start cutting the flaps. So again, works for any size box, you're just getting those. Now if you don't do this, go and do this. Okay? And you tried it and you don't do that, then when you fold the box and you do the gluing, your box is going to stick out. The little piece will stick out like that, and it'll be so annoying. Trust me, it'll be so annoying that you'll be in there going, oops, I forgot to miter the edges, and then you're going to be doing this kind of thing. Oh no, my box is sticking out the edges, and you're going to do this, and then you're going to start cutting your box apart, and it's going to look funny. Anyway, so here's what mitering the edges looks like. This is what you're doing to the whole box. Okay, and if I forgot any of the edges, I can tell right now, like that one. See how I got all 4? I got this one, this one, this one, but then I forgot the little bit of edge of that one. So you want to do it sort of both sides, like that. Only up to the score line. Don't go beyond the score line, because then you'll get some funny looking boxes. And you might be saying, Paper Chef, didn't you teach an entire box making course in the Scan and Cut? Yes. But you know what? Still got to make your own boxes. Even if you use the Scan and Cut to make your own boxes, sometimes you need an exact size box, and and instead of making a pattern, it's just way easier to use this method, I think. Because like I would have gone to my scan and cut if I needed like 20 of the same box, like a party favor, maybe design my own. But since I'm only going to just make a couple of this style, I think it's easier just to use the trimmer. Plus, when designing boxes, it's good to know how to make boxes manually. It makes you a better designer when you use your software, because then you understand what kind of flaps you need and what kind of dimensions, and you account for the sides and everything, where the score lines are going to be. I think it just makes you a better designer. Doing things manually, old school. Okay, let's put that one over the top of this one and see if, yes, I think I did all the edges. Okay, now we're going to just take glue, or you could take rolling adhesive. Here, let's see if we can't use our seal. Yeah, this is quicker, but you can use glue. And if you are going to use glue, then you're going to get little paper clothespins to hold it shut while it dries. But I think this might be just easier to use the seal, Stampin' Seal. See how it has little ridges on it? Just tuck it under there. It's best to put the seal on the little flaps while it's flat. Now sometimes I need to put the little rubber piece under there because it's like, get a grip. It helps me get a grip. There you go. See how easy it was to put on the seal when you put it on your little rubber. This is called a silicone mat. And it's one of the things I use all the time for stamping, and I have a couple of them. We'll be using it when we stamp later. Okay, there we go. And I'm just now sealing the edges. All right, so if you're not sure and you're kind of new to box making, you might want to use glue for the top part. The reason you might want to use liquid glue, because what will happen is then if you're like, oops, I didn't make see, here's the lid. And if you're like not sure if you made your box big enough, you can test it right now before we even seal it. My box is big enough, but if you're not sure, use liquid glue, because then you can pull it open a little and get it to fit on the bottom of your box. But I'm pretty sure, I'm going to say I'm sure. You never say 100%, right? Because then, this is a live video. It's like, you said you were sure, but I'm pretty sure this lid's going to fit on this box. Okay, so we're going to be confident enough to say it'll fit. But that's why I'm not going to use liquid glue. But if I wasn't so confident I would use liquid glue, it's much more forgiving. And I'm just tucking in that little bit of seal. What you could do is you could just test it. You could go like, oh good, it fits on there, see? See how it fits before you do it all. It's working. It's working. And if you want to make it really a loose lid, like say you got a lot of stuff bulging out the bottom of your box and you want to make the lid looser, then you would have cut a smidgen more off of this earlier. The more smidgens you cut off the bottom part, the looser the top is. But I like only a smidgen so that the top is tight. And there we have it. That's our box. So now we're going to create the Give It a Whirl the magical part for the top of the box. And we're going to get it to fit on our box. So here were our little triangles. You got to see how big they were. They were almost like smidgens themselves, right? So let's see what we have. We're going to take a piece of this. I'm grabbing the machine, the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Okay, so say hello if you're here. I'm going to say hello to those of you guys who have joined me for this fun live. I'm just dumping that dust off. And I'm grabbing my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine and the cutting plates. And I'm just going to throw this away. So let's see what I need. Before I get the machine, I need some white cardstock, because you're going to do a double white cardstock. So you're going to make, when we do the wheel, for the wheel. Okay, we need some white cardstock for the back of this, and we need a piece of your paper. We need a piece of your designer series paper. Okay, so let's. Hi, Maria, or Marie. I'm sorry, not Maria. Hi, Marie. Hi, Jan. Diana. New paper chef. Hello, Jade. Yvonne. Raylene, aloha from Hawaii. Hello, Melissa from Kentucky. Sherry's here, Deborah's here. Okay, you didn't see the paper on the clearance rack. Okay, so thank you for letting me know. So it used to be on the clearance rack and now it's not anymore. Craft tackles from the Big Apple. And Janet loves making boxes. Cool. All right, cool. Thank you for coming and for saying hello. So we're just gonna take this. This is the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. This is like one of those really cool machines. It's kind of a must-have in a craft arsenal. And right now, during our celebration special, it's a good time to put something like this in your starter kit. A starter kit is $99 and this machine is normally $120. So it's a really good thing to put in your starter kit because you can get in a starter kit $125 worth of stuff for only $99. And we also have a free bundle, and all of that's in the back of the on my website. So you can check that out. I think I probably need to do a video about that before that expires, before that special expires. This is the stamping order of the sandwich. We have the base plate. See how thick the base plate is? We have our thin die adapter. So the base plate was number 1, thin die adapter is number 2. We have one of the cutting plates, number 3. That's number 3. We have another cutting plate. Wait, number 3. Okay, good. But we're gonna put the stuff down and then we're gonna put the number 3 on top. So we're gonna first cut. Let's go ahead and cut. We'll do this part first. We're gonna do this part. So when you're gonna put the circle somewhere. So when you cut this, your designer series paper needs to be on the bottom layer. And if you don't put the designer series paper on the bottom layer, you're gonna get this annoying line, annoying indentation of this metal piece across. It needs to go there in this die. It's a brilliant design, but I don't like the indentation. So we do need this dot, and that's why we have to deal with the indentation, but you want to put the paper on beneath. Now, before you put it underneath, you want to decide, I think like I like the circle idea, how I put the snowflake in the circle. See how I put, not that snowflake, there's a different snowflake. I found a round snowflake and it's, so we want to make sure there's a really cool snowflake somewhere in this frame. So maybe here is good because it can end up being right in the middle of the frame, which would be kind of cool, right? That might work. You see what I'm saying? See how I'm going to do something like that later? So I'm liking this. Something like that. So that's where I'm going to put the circle. You're not going to put the circle right now. This is just me positioning where I'm going to put this piece of white paper underneath. So I'm putting the white paper right there. I'm just going to tape these two together. Not the circle. We're just doing something like that. That's where we're going to put the circle. Center, center. This is my eyeballing. I'm centering the circle. Maybe I got to go down a little more. Maybe up a little more. Okay. I think it's good enough. It's good enough. So we're going to take, you need a piece of tape at this point. I'm reaching over for my painter's tape. So don't take your hand off this. I had to use my mouth to cut the painter's tape. So I'm just putting this, I'm going to put this back there for a second. I'm putting this, I'm going to put this behind it. Okay. See what I'm doing? I'm just kind of putting that piece of tape on the right there for a second. Okay. What I'm doing is I'm putting the white piece on top. You got to put the white piece on top when you cut. But you needed to know where to cut it. I hope that all makes sense. I needed to know where to cut it because I wanted that snowflake under there. So let's put that piece of tape back down now. Whew. I wanted to make sure that this little area when I'm going to cut that snowflake out later is kind of in the center. But I don't want that big darn line going across my page. Okay, so now I'm going to put my top plate. You'll see what I mean by the line. You're going to see the line in a second and go, oh, wow, what a big indent. And you wouldn't want that indent on the front of your box or card. Okay, I'm just cranking through. Cranking it. Okay. See that big old line? Right? Not cool. And, you know, one way to try to get rid of it, if you were going to have cardstock on your top layer, is to get under there with a, you know, with a bone folder, and you could try to, you know, flatten it out. But to me, it's not worth it. So I just put it on the bottom, and then this one's fine. See how that's fine? Okay, so now I have this piece is fine, but that's going to be on top. So we wanted them to be lined up there. Now let's do this. Let's cut that circle, and I got to get my pokey tool for a second. Cut out that, got to find that hole. See? And pop the hole out. All right, see? That's a hole. Now, these got to stay together. Just go ahead and lay these down. Same thing again, plate 1, 2, 3. Keep that piece of tape, we're going to use it again. Well, we may or may not need to use it again. I don't think we need to use it again for this. We're going to take this circle, and we're going to go like that. Okay? I was close with the thing, but that's cool. It's still doing what I wanted to do. I still kind of got the thing centered, so we're going to go. I don't really want to use the tape. I don't really want to use the tape because I don't want to rip my paper. Sometimes when you use tape, you rip your paper. But someone said to use sticky notes, and they're just not within reach right now. But sticky notes don't rip your paper, but sticky notes help your process. Okay, so now I'm putting, when you do the circle, you can put that through on the top layer. You could have done it the other way. You could have put the cardstock on top and cut the circle through both. But the problem is, like, I wanted to see where I was centering it. Okay, perfect so far, so good. We're going to color this. It's going to be like sort of a color changing card, like the concept we learned last week. Now we got to make this shorter to make it fit on our box. So keep these two together again. And actually, I'm going to put this one back behind there now because this, when I do this next part, it tends to cut right through this paper, both layers, kind of really sharp. So we're going to go ahead and, actually, I can tape these two together now because it doesn't matter if this part rips because this is not the side I'm using. So what I'm doing now, just so you know, is I'm cutting this die to fit on this box. And then I'm going to use the leftover piece because we need the stitching. See how the box has stitching? If you have any questions, I can repeat the process, but I just want to let you know that this die has stitching only here. Let me show you the die. It only has stitching around the outside. So we need to lop off a piece of the bottom, but when we lop it off, we still don't want to we don't want the bottom of the box to not have any stitching on it, right? So that's why I'm using the extra piece that we lop off. So how much we want this to be the size of the top, or a little smaller than the top of the box that we made. So here's our box, right? We want this to be shorter. So we're going to make, I have a little, what is it, my little cheap piece. Where'd it go? Looking for a piece of balmy blue laying on my table. This might be it. Nope. We want it to be 4.5 long instead of, here it is, or not 4.5, sorry. Here's my cheap piece, 4 1/4 long. So what we want to do is you're going to take this part of the die, right? You're going to stick it on here, on your cutting plate, right? And you want to cut off like an inch or whatever, but you need to, I'm just using this as my little guide. So this is 4 1/4. I went like this. I stuck it there, 4 1/4. I mean, it can be give or take. You know, it doesn't matter if you're off by 1/8 of an inch or something. We basically just want a little border around our box. So that's my little guide. It's 4 1/4. I already cut that earlier. And I'm just putting this piece down here to chop off the bottom of my box, give it a whirl die. And I need another piece of tape so that I get a straight line across the bottom. Okay, so that was 4 1/4 high. Okay, same width as before, but it's 4 1/4 high. I obviously need 2 hands to sort of ripping the tape with my mouth is not working. All right, there we go. Now we're going to get the top plate. Don't tell me it's under there. It's under there. Got to get it out. Whoop. Okay, so we need this top plate, and we're only going to just die cut this one line. We don't care about all the rest. It's going to make a crunchy noise, but don't worry about it. We're going to go in there, cut that one line, and then just come right back out. Hear that noise? You can hear that pressure, that noise? And you can just come right back out. The reason you do not want to go forward, do not go forward. Oh boy, I can't emphasize that enough. If you do, you're going to warp your plate, you're going to break your plate, you're going to totally ruin your plate. Not plate, I mean your die. You're going to ruin this die if you keep going forward. You only need to cut that one line. You don't want to warp your die. If you ever try to put a die through a machine, this is exactly what we wanted, by the way. If you ever try to put your die through a machine and there's no plates under it, say you tried to put your die through like that, you would have totally cut your die. It would have bent, warped, and I've done it before. So I'm saying this from personal experience. I'm not saying it to like, I just can't emphasize it enough because I've done it before. Okay, so what we're doing is we're taking this little piece now. This is the piece we want. And keep these pieces of cardstock. See how we have this really cool stitching? And we have that really cool stitching? That's going to be the bottom of our little box. And now we got the stitching on the bottom. Because if we didn't do that, if we didn't lop that little piece off and save it, this is the top of the box. Here, let me show you. When I take this off, see, it's going to rip my paper a little, but it doesn't matter. This is the part of the paper that no one sees because you always have cardstock between your layers. Okay, check this out. If I didn't do that, it just lops it off. Like if I were to just take a paper trimmer and cut this, I would have got the same exact effect. That would have been fine too, right? That would have been fine just to use a paper trimmer because you might be thinking, why didn't you just use a paper trimmer? I always like to try to answer questions you might be sitting there thinking of in your head. That's probably what I'd be thinking if I was watching somebody right now, which I watch a lot of videos myself. But the reason I didn't is because, let's get all this together. Here we go. We're gonna glue those together. The reason I didn't is because I want that stitching. I want the stitching to go on the bottom of this so that it looks like a completed little section. I'll probably put it like that. But we want some contrast there. So we got a cool little stitching panel, but we want some contrast between this and this. So you could either color this, or you could, I thought it was a lot easier to color this and the circle inside than to color this. But you could have done it the opposite way. I could have colored this and then not colored that in this. Do you see? I'm using contrast. The technique is contrast so that you can see. All right, so now we're done with all the dies, I'm pretty sure. All the dies, yes. Making sure, except snowflakes, but I'm not cutting snowflakes today for you. I already cut them ahead of time because I wanted to prepare some parts of this tutorial ahead of time so we won't be here till the cows come home, as the saying goes. All right, we'll just put a piece of paper. I need a piece of paper. This is a piece of scratch paper. So let's start working our card. We're going to put this part together with this. Go ahead and glue those together or use your seal adhesive, Stampin' Seal. Okay, but this is just, if you ever tried to make a Give It a Whirl card and you didn't see any of these tutorials and you're like, well, why is my card all flimsy? You have to use double layers for everything. Double layers for the wheel. Oh, I forgot the wheel. See, I knew I forgot something. Why didn't you guys tell me? No, I'm just kidding. I do need to get the die cut machine back to get the wheel, but I'll do the wheel later because right now we're doing the coloring. Okay? See that? I just kind of used the technique of just sort of tapping it down to make sure before I glued it together that they were aligned. Okay, you need this. You need this. If you don't get this, your cards will be flimsy. You have to have cardstock backing your designer series paper. Now we're going to take this piece and we can go ahead and put the cardstock on it. It doesn't matter. This makes a nice little sentiment in itself, doesn't it? This would make a good little, if you ever need a big rectangle, use the technique I just showed you to make your rectangle. You can make a nice stitch rectangle shape, the technique I just showed you. But we're not doing it for that. We're using this to reinforce the bottom because now we're going to color. We're just going to color it. All right. With our blending brush this time. You've seen me color designer series paper with sponge daubers. Surface painter's tape. Okay, thank you, Kelly. Yes, surface painter's tape. Yes, that's a purple type of tape. I couldn't get that kind right now, but I do know what you're talking about. And I think I'm going to get sticky tape. Somebody said to get sticky, Post-it note makes tape. Okay, so that was cool. So I made my own little ombre. All this is a stamping spot. What I did is made my own little ombre stamping spot where I put like pool party on the light side. This is just pool party ink, right? And then I put some balmy blue on the other side. Oops, I just mixed them up. You know what I mean? I put pool party on this side so much for being ombre anymore. And then on the darker side, I put Balmy blue. That's how I inked the uninked stamping spot. I made my own little ombre pad. And then I was able to dip into it that way without getting a ton of ink on stuff, see? Dip in there, sort of, see? And I'm able to get some colors for blending. Tap, tap, blend, blend. And because I think Balmy blue is too dark and Pool Party was too light for this, and I wanted it to match the box. So that's why I mixed Balmy blue with Pool Party in this sort of ombre pad. So I'm just tap, 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 blend, blend, blend. I'm not trying to blend the two colors together. I was just really just trying to lighten the Balmy blue with some Pool Party. And instead of dipping straight into the ink pads, where you get this totally inky and then it's hard time using your blending brush, I'm just using the stamping spot. Okay, I think that's good enough. What I want is the contrast when I put this on my box. Let's find the top of the box. And I think I got my contrast there. Yep, pretty cool. Let's put it here. Let's put a little more color on this side. Now you're going to just take you're not raising this up. You're just using your seal to put that right on there. But I think that snowflake's too close to that snowflake, so I'm turning it around and putting this snowflake on this side. So if you want to line it up good, you just kind of use your paper, right? You can use the edge of your paper trimmer too. But I'm just using the table so that I can line these up so that at least the bottoms are aligned, you know? Okay. So far, so good. Now, if you're wondering, if you just came in and you're like, what in the world is this chick doing? This is what I'm doing. We're making the top of the box right now. This is what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We already made the box. Now we're making the top of the box so that we can do the whirly mechanism. Okay. And I already have snowflakes cut out for you. But now we're going to color that snowflake there and put that one right in here. The one that's going to go right in there. Oh, I kind of like that shape better than the round radial shape. I kind of like it. It's like rays of a sun. So you want to put that in the middle. Go ahead and just ink that up now. Tap, tap, tap. Ink, ink, ink. It's probably better to ink on this rubber surface, but it's all good. It's all good. We want it to kind of be the same color as the bottom part there. I love blending brushes. You can wash these and use these for different, use them again. But I tend to have like one that I use for several blues, one that I have for several greens, sort of the Cajun Craze and Calypso Coral one I might share. So when you want to clean this off, you just sort of do that, see? Most of the ink's off of it. And I could really use it with almost any color, but I tend to use it for just blues because it makes me feel better. Like I don't want to put like a red on here and go, what if I get purple, right? So that's my little tips. And again, we used, just so you could see those, refillers. Refillers are a must in what's called, what do we call this kind of crafting? Mixed media. I do a lot of mixed media work, and you gotta have your re-inkers for, coloring your embossing paste and whatnot. All right, so now let's save this circle. Oh no, was it this one? Oh, you know what we do need? We do need the die cutting machine for two reasons. We need another circle like this, made with photorealistic paper that we can stamp on for the circle. We need maybe another one. We don't really need another one. We don't reinforce this, but save your circles anyway. Save them for your sentiments anyway later. And we forgot to cut out the circle, the mechanism. Not I'll take full responsibility. I forgot to cut out this big circle mechanism. So that's our next step, and let's just do that. Let me clean off. We need another circle like that, and you need some white cardstock for your rolly thing. And you always make that 2 layers as well. So let's get our piece of piece of cardstock. Double piece of cardstock. Here we go. 2 pieces of cardstock. And moving that off to the side for a moment. And we're going to go ahead and cut the wheel. And we're going to also cut. So we'll go ahead and cut the wheel first. Just stick the wheel down and cut through 2 pieces of cardstock. Always got to reinforce that wheel. Okay, so we're going to do that first. And then we're going to get the circle and cut out some designer series paper for the sentiments. And we'll make an extra one in case we mess it up. Okay. So that's what we just made, the wheel. And you should, I told you before, have a bunch of these made up. And again, they get indentations, which doesn't matter because we can put the one with the indentations on the bottom layer, and this one's still going to be indented, but it kind of helps us know where to stamp, actually. It's kind of cool. All right, now we need designer series paper. So you're going to take this. You need a piece of the, see the photorealistic side? I'm going to put the same sandwich down. You need this piece, and you need to go, I'm just going to fold it and make two. See what I'm trying to do? I'm going to stamp on there. So, here, just rip this. Let's rip this. I hope this circle's big. I hope this is big enough. Yeah, I might need another piece of paper because this, for some reason, I didn't save a big enough piece. But you needed the photorealistic paper. So we're going to grab any kind of light thing to stamp on. Oh, wouldn't that be pretty? That purple. Oh, no. We can't because we're using Balmy blue. Here's a good Balmy blue. This is a good one. Oh, look, it's the same one. Huh? Oh, wait, here, what was this one? Here's even better. I don't want to waste my snowflake paper because I might do something else with it, but this one's good because it matches what we're doing here. So let's put, I'm just going to take a piece off here for a second and cut through two of them. See? That's all I'm doing. Putting one behind it, I'm making two circles. Because what if we mess up, right? I want to have two circles that I can stamp onto. So that's all I'm doing. Is just cutting through two pieces of designer series paper. These little dies will cut through 2 pieces of cardstock or 3 or 4 pieces of designer series paper. Putting on my lid, rolling it through. And then we'll figure out what sentiment to use in a minute because I have, a few options for that too. Perfect. Got a good circle. Where's my other circle before I put this back on the floor and think that I don't need to do any more die cutting? And then I might. Hopefully no more die cutting. Let's assume we have no more die cutting. Let's put this down there because I already did the snowflakes. All right, now we're going to stamp away. We're going to find, so I've used this stamp set so many times that you guys, I know you're not tired of it, but I thought let's do something different because this is the one I used in a couple of the cards we've made here already, plus on my channel. So I thought, let me do something different. I thought, let's use the stamp from here. So I've been using this one, Sending Love and Peace This Season. So that's where I got this from. See, Sending Love and Peace This Season. It's not the same size, obviously. See how it looks small in here? Peaceful deer, but it's actually way bigger in person. Because, why is that? I don't know why. Oh, because this is a giant, it's just bigger. Sometimes things are bigger in person, which is nice. And let's find the stamping block for that. Oh, or no, then I was thinking, let's try something different. That's the one I did use, and I brought out a different stamp set because I was thinking that maybe this one, the Snowflake Wishes that I just made the designer series paper with, would be not this one, but the other one. Here it is. I think I said, let me see if these sentiments fit before I use the same sentiment again, just to change it up. So we're going to see if these fit. So what you do is, again, these are smaller than, this is the one I made the paper with the other day on YouTube. So if you missed the baby wipe technique, we had so much fun with the baby wipe technique. If you missed that video, I made that with this stamp set here. So I'm just going to see if any of these sentiments might fit, because if they do, that would be fun to fit in the circle. I don't know. Thank you, Snow Much might fit. Let's see if Thank You, Snow Much fits. Just lay it on there. Yep, it does. It works. So we can change it up. We don't need to use the Peaceful Deer. So bottom line, use whatever you have, right? Use whatever you have. And in this one, I've used it before. I've just used the snowflake fits in the circle good. For this snowflake set, this one is what I used for the circle. I haven't used many of these yet, see? This fits good if you just want to put a snowflake. Here, we could do that. We could just stamp a snowflake in the circle, or in this case, I glued a snowflake in the circle. See? Either way, we'll see if we mess this Snow Much up first. Before we use that snowflake, we'll see if we mess up this stamp. We don't want to go into the process thinking we're going to mess anything up, but sometimes things happen. Okay, so when you stamp, you want to take your piece of scrap paper and you want to stamp onto it first to make sure you get a good stamp image before you try to, say, when you first ink up something, you got to get the ink to absorb good. Don't ever stamp straight onto the paper that you're trying to stamp onto because you might mess it up. Yeah, I think it's working. It's working. All right, so it's inked up enough, and it does a better job when you actually stamp onto the nice paper as opposed to scrap paper, and also when you're using the stamping mat, it should do a little bit better of a job. Okay, you have to tap it off. It does stick. Everything sticks when you do this kind of stamping, but you got to get in there and tap it off. Don't pull it off. Don't slide it off. Don't rub it off, or it'll get smeared. Ooh, I'm happy with that. But you know what? I think I'm gonna do, yeah, no, I like that sentiment, but I think I'm gonna just try this one. I'm gonna try to do this one like that. Why not? And I'll just use black because that's what I have right here. But I mean, I could use a different color. Oh, nice. Wow. Yeah. That's easier than putting a snowflake under there. But you get the idea. You can also put a snowflake right under there. Yeah, right on your circle. I'm going to slap that there so I can wash it later. So now we got to do the assembly. So you need your little, let's bring this back. You need your wheels. You need your brads. So you have a pack of brads. You're going to need your foam adhesive strips and some dimensionals. And it depends on you if you're going to cut. So I use the small white brad. I think I'm going to use a big white brad this time, but because later I'm thinking of putting a snowflake on it. If you use a small white brad, it's kind of indistinguishable. But if you use a big white brad, what happens is you could then we have round and square brads. They come in white and black, right? When you use the bigger ones, you can stick things to them, and there's a lot of surface area. And it's really cool because here they are. These came in your kit. You can actually use the surface area. Let me get here. Of the white one, see how there's a lot of surface area? You can use it to put something on. See? Like you can put it on something like a snowflake, and you can make things rotate, which is fun. It's a fun way. If you use the bigger brad, you can do that. So I'm just poking out the holes. We'll use that as our top side. Don't glue your wheels together yet, because if you mess up your stamping on your wheel, you don't want to glue these together yet, because then you might have to move it. You might have to flip it over. You might have to put this one at the top and that one. You have 4 chances of messing up this wheel, because you got this side, that side, this side, that side, because it's a double wheel. So don't worry about messing up the wheel. So we need a brad, but first we need I told you at the very first video that you needed a little template. So this is my little template. That's what I'm going to put there. It's how I'm gonna line things up. Actually, I don't think I'm doing any stamping. Let me see what I did here. I think I'm just gluing the things on here. I don't think I really need I don't think I'm doing any stamping, so I think I could assemble it even right on the card. We don't have to risk it. Okay, let's just assemble it right on the card. My template is needed when I have to stamp onto the wheel directly. See what I mean? You're gonna use the template, stamp on the wheel directly. But I've already done my stamping. This is when you'd use the template. Ba-boom. That's to keep from getting ink around. But we've already done that. We already have these little circles we're putting right on the wheel. So we can just go ahead and just assume that this is all going to go well and just glue them together. And put the circles right on them. Let's do it. Let's put the circles right on as they're on the card. That's even easier. Okay, so I'm adhering the 2 circles together. I like crafting on the fly. It's more fun that way. It's more realistic, actually. You get to see, like, my thought process, I think, because it always, I just kind of come up with these ideas. Okay, see how I'm putting the little doohickum there? And I'm just sort of making sure the little ridges line up. So now I got this really strong wheel. We're going to put this on the card behind there in the window, right? We're going to stick the brad right in there. The big fat white brad, because later I might be able to stick a snowflake on it that will like be on there, and I can rotate it. It'd be kind of fun. We're going to flip this around like that, and you're going to put tape there. Let me cut off this piece. So we're going to put some tape. The reason is you just don't want it to rub a lot against the card, against the inside. So this part here is going to touch the top of this box. And imagine how many times someone might want to spin this. They might even re-gift the box, right? You don't want that part, metal, rubbing against this the whole time. So I put a little bit of tape there is what I usually do. And it just kind of keeps it from rubbing. Now, these are some other tips and tricks. I got these at Michael's, the craft store Michael's, okay? These are just little stickers. I found, and they're just here. They were like $1 they were on sale. Stickers, blah, 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 recollections, okay? If you put these, when you have raised things like this, we're not sticking them anywhere you could see them. This is very important. These are just my little tips and tricks. I stuck a couple like right on this piece of cardstock to keep the wheel away from this window. And if I didn't do that, sometimes these little doohickeys got caught in there, right? They got caught. So I had to kind of raise this up a little bit, right? So I just thought these stickers were easy for that. And this is all I did. I just took a sticker and I stuck it right on the paper. See, right there. You can't see it. Don't worry about it. Just stick it under there. It's not getting stuck or anything. Just watch. See what it's doing? It's keeping the window here. It's keeping the window it's just raising the window up. I'm going to do one on that side too. And I always do it under this side too when I'm trying to spin the wheel, which I've been doing in every video, but this time I decided to do it right on the wheel itself. So where's my other one? Where did I put? I put one right there. So again, I'm putting it right on the big piece of cardstock, not on the wheel. Don't put it on the wheel. Your wheel's spinning. You're putting it on, you're just kind of using it to, these are puffy stickers. It's important they got to be puffy stickers. Tiny puffy stickers to help raise up the wheel. Okay, so now my wheel won't get it won't get jammed. Things won't get caught in it when it tries to spin around. Like that piece of paper won't get caught. All right, next I need to mount this onto there. Or actually, we can do the mounting now. Now that we got that, we can go ahead and put this, we can mount all the little pieces inside the wheel. So we're going to use glue for this. Thank you, Snow Much. I mean, you don't have to use glue, but the reason I think glue works better is because you can get to the edges. If you use seal, the Stampin' Seal, and you don't get all the way to the edges, they totally get caught as you spin it around. So I think this is much easier stamping on the paper and getting the paper to line up on the circles rather than stamping right through the circle onto the wheel. That's my opinion. It just made it so much easier for me. I'm just going to go right there, push it in. Got to get it under there. Make sure there's no ink on my hands. Okay, lift this up. You want it to line up perfectly, but you don't want it to get stuck on this part. See? It has to be, you're sticking it to the wheel. Oh, I like it. And the other reason we use glue is because if it's crooked, we can fix it. Glue is more forgiving. Oh, I'm so happy with that. So that's the way I would hand someone the box. Thank you so much. And if they figure out that you got to spin it, then you go to the next empty spot. See how you go to the next empty spot? You're just going to put the wheel in the next empty spot. Get this all the way out of the view. So you got this circle. Get it all the way gone. It's gone, right? Now, you put your next circle there. And in fact, if you're not sure about this next circle, then you want to take, sometimes, this is my little trick too. Lots of tips and tricks here. Just tape it so it doesn't slip. My other circle's hidden. I can put the next circle in there. So let's find the one from earlier. We're looking for, remember we did that stamping and it's amazing. It's somewhere. Let's see if that's it. Nope, 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 nope. We can use this one next, but there is one around that we did some really cool stamping on earlier. Here it is, this one. So we got to put that one too, but let's do this one next. So this one's going to be like rays of a sun. See, we want to put that one under there. Isn't that cool? We want it to line up like rays of a sun. We'll do this one next. And you don't have a whole lot of room, so once that hides, like tape your thing down, because if you go too far over, you're not going to have room for all 3 circles. And we push it down under there, lining up the snowflake. I got to lift it up and push it under there. Rotate a little bit. I got to rotate it so that this, see how these line up perfectly? But they're different colors. Remember the color changing technique I taught last week? If you were here for the candy cane color changing technique, I'm doing that again with this. This is where I line up the pattern, doing that same technique. Okay? Just kind of right there, you might have to get it to, so it doesn't get caught. Make sure it doesn't get caught. If it does, if you start feeling like you're getting caught up under there, you can either, let me see, loosen my brad a little, or, see, I think I'm, oh, duh. I'm like, why isn't my wheel turning? I'm the one that put the tape there. I'm like, why isn't my wheel turning? Okay, there, it wasn't stuck. It was me, operator error, I still had tape on the back. Okay, so there you go. So far so good. There's the empty spot. See how you don't have much room for forgiveness here? You got to get that right in the right empty spot, the third circle. But there we have so far, we have thank you so much. We have our really cool snowflake that lines up. And now we have another snowflake that you could also put, like, be cool. You could write something on it from this penguin one. These have really small greetings like be cool, be chill, be merry. That would fit right over the top of the snowflake if you want. But I mean, I think we already have thank you so much is enough. So we're going to line that up like that. Right? That part's not showing, that part's not showing. And we tape. The tape keeps us from slipping when we're gluing. Now we're going to glue. And even that would be cute too. Use the snow side and put be cool, be chill, be merry. This works with, what I'm showing you works with any paper. You're just lining, just sticking the snowflake in there. Go ahead, push it down in there. And pull up, pull up. Okay, good, good, good. Rip this off. See why I need to use both hands. See why I'm doing this part before I'm trying to put it on there. Don't try to assemble it once it's on the box. Okay, we test it again. Always keep testing between. The reason you're testing between is not just to test because you're fanatically testing. You're testing because if you had any glue or anything, you want to make sure it doesn't dry in one spot. So you're always spinning the card. Plus, it's fun to spin the card, right? It's fun to spin the card. Now we got to put our mechanism together here with the adhesive strips. This kind of takes the mystery out of how to do a shaker card. So you need some of these adhesive strips. These were in your kit. Or if not, they're at my Stampin' Up store if you don't have any. I'm just going to put one, right there. And one right there. And then I'm going to put a few more on the side. So kind of making a square of them, but then we're going to reinforce right around this wheel because we don't want a wonky box. So we'll cut them in half again. Let's get some of these longer ones. Something like that. Don't touch them to the wheel. You just want them, you want the wheel to move freely. But you don't want them sticking off the edge. So something like that. See? You don't want them sticking off the edge of your card. So something like that. And this is like something that you would use. These little guys are something you would also use for shaker cards. So before I even take the back of these off, just make sure they're not too close to your wheel. Your wheel's still moving smoothly. That's the key. Now you can take the smaller pieces and you can reinforce. Or you can use dimensionals, but I'm just going to use smaller pieces for now to reinforce these little areas so that I don't have a wonky card. Because dimensionals just aren't as tall as these. So it just, to me, these are easier to reinforce with. Okay, and then we could use the take your pick tool to pull these off, but I don't know, I just find it easier to use my hands. That's just me. And I'm peeling off all the adhesive. And then we're done. And then I'm going to show you the box and what candy I put in it and what other projects. Real quick. Okay, so there we go. We got all the adhesive off. Test it. Test. And we are done. Now, before you put this on the top of the box, you're going to get out those little stickers I told you about. And you're going to put them right here underneath. We've already put them underneath this part. See, we put stickers there. We now need to put a couple stickers under where this wheel is going to go. Right there on the box. Very important so that the box spins easily. So something like, oops, I don't want to stick it to that. So something like before we put this down, and these are just kind of raising up your little, you're putting them right there. They're not doing anything. They're just to keep things from rubbing, right? Hopefully they're hidden, and if not, I have to move them over some. Okay, cool. Cool beans. All right, now we're gonna open up your box. You're gonna need this to do this to help get this to stay on. You got thank you so much. Put this right there. And that's how you make your magical give it a whirl box. Ba-boom, we're done. We're done. And now you're gonna turn over your box like this. Push, push, push. And, you know, so that it stays. And remember we had that tape? That was to keep the brad from rubbing. All right, so now I'll show you what's in the other box. Where we go? I told you I'd show you what's in this box. Wrapping things up here. This box has little candies in it. It's the one that I made for sample. And I just put stitch snowflakes on here, which I'm not going to do right now. But you do remember we colored some of these a little bit with the stitch snowflakes when I did the baby wipe technique. They're just a bunch of snowflakes. I mean, rather than you watching me glue them, I cut them out ahead of time. There's something called Stitch Snowflakes die set in Stampin' Up. And I just cut out a bunch of them. You're going to stick them on your box. Here's what I was talking about by putting one. You could put one right there and let it spin. I think that would be a lot of fun. Stick one right on the brad and let the brad spin and the snowflake will spin. That's just an idea I had. But I mean, whatever. All right, so then there's some candy in there with some little shreddy, okay? And Almond Joys and this. Now, here's another one, completely different, but the same exact pattern, same measurements I just showed you. Every single thing we just did, you can do this exact same thing with the Give It a Whirl dies. You can use Nuts About Squirrels. I use Nuts About Squirrels. It's a recent tutorial where I showed you how to cut out Nuts About Squirrels using your brother's Scan and Cut. And the Happy Fall, y'all, is from Banner Year. And then you got the lineup of the little plaid. Colored the paper. It's called Pattern Party. Colored it with the blending brushes. Okay, so you can do Nuts About Squirrels. And I use Crumb Cake and Cajun Craze. Okay, and I think the same kind of candies in it, but no shreddy. Lots of candies with nuts in them. See? Hey there, nuts about you. Okay, so these are just ideas. And then if you missed part 1 of the series, I talked about the dies itself. The dies in part 1, I did a big orientation to what all these look like cut out, and I showed you about the dies themselves. In part 2 of the series, we made cute Halloween cards with Give It a Whirl. That's what we did for part 2. Then part 3 came along, and we did the Hope box. We made actually Box of Hope with the Bloom Where You're Planted designer series paper. I've already given away the one that was the Hope box, but this is the one I have that's a sample of what we did there. And this is a mini paper pumpkin box. Kind of similar to the project we just did today, except we didn't have to trim this down. So that's why today's tutorial was different. We didn't have to trim this down because this fits right on the mini paper pumpkin box. This die set. That was part 1, 2, 3. Then part 4 we did, and I might be mixing up the order, but we did all this in this series. We did Penguin Playmates designer series paper, which is on sale right now. It's free, actually. It's not on sale. You can get it free when you spend $50 at my store. You can get the free Penguin Playmates designer series paper. I showed how to line up the cute characters with this way. Okay. And, oh, I forgot to say hi to who else came in. And then last video, which was part 5, we did this kind of card, the color changing card. So let's see who else came in. Hi, Betty. Hi, Nola. Deborah, Terry, Kelly. Hello, Kelly. Denise. Janet saying Plan B. Oh, Terry saying, and Patty. Hello, Patty. This is a color changing card we did in part 5, where I showed you how to use the candy cane stamp background to create this kind of effect. And we just did the Stamparatus to get everything to line up, which is a stamp positioning tool. And here's another one from part 5. So now part 6, you saw how to make the snowflake boxes. And we've pretty much done a lot of things with the stamp set, and like lots of different applications. And we've pretty much done everything that I'm going to show you, except for I'm going to try to do something with the acetate that's in your kit. something with the sweet stockings. And if anything, at least we're going to have a stocking here, and the little critters will go, the little faces, there'll be a stocking that hangs there, and the little faces that rotate. Or I'm trying to make the whole thing go on a merry-go wheel. So I'm doing sweet stockings. I still have something coming up with that. So there'll probably be a couple more parts in the series, if not the last video and a conclusion. So I hope you're enjoying this series so far, and I hope you'll give these boxes a whirl yourself. Thank you for watching. This is the Papered Chef.